Hey everybody, it's Kristin here from Magoosh. Welcome to Tuesday CT. And I know that a lot of you out there are facing a really difficult decision this year, and that's whether you should take the ACT or you should take the new SAT. So if you are in that difficult position, well, we have a treat in store for you. We're doing a little series comparing the different sections of the ACT to the new SAT. So one of the best ways to figure out which test is right for you is to do some practice, of course, but hopefully this will help you get a quick sense of how the sections compare and maybe see which one best aligns with your strengths and preferences as a test taker. So today we're talking about ACT reading, so let's go ahead and take a look at how these sections compare in terms of the number of passages and what type of content you're going to see, first of all. So on the ACT, you're going to see 4 reading passages total, and on the new SAT, you're going to see 5. One on each test is going to be a fiction passage, so the vast majority on both tests is nonfiction. Now, on the ACT, the passages you're going to see are slightly longer than the SAT, but not by much. On the SAT, they're about 500 to 750 words in length, and on the ACT, about 700 to 850 words. So you'll notice that 500 to 750 words is a lot longer than a lot of the passages on the old SAT were. Sometimes you would just see passages that were just a paragraph or two. Now they're all going to be longer passages. So on both tests, you're going to see passages that take up the majority, if not all, of a page, and then a set of questions that follow. So in terms of the content on the ACT, all the texts are pretty modern. You're not going to find anything that's from the 1700s or 1800s or includes texts that might be more difficult to understand. But on the SAT, you are going to see some of those texts. You're going to see what the SAT calls classical texts, including some texts from foundational or founding American documents like the Declaration of Independence and things that were not quite written so recently in the 20th or the 21st century. So if you're someone who struggles perhaps with language that's not completely modern, that might be a consideration for you. On the ACT, you're not going to find that, but you will find that on 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 of the SAT passages. Now, in terms of difficulty level, the ACT, all of the reading passages are about on the same level. Now you might find that one is a little bit more difficult for you just because you're just not as familiar with the science topic, for example, or you're not as comfortable with fiction. But they're all about on 10th grade, maybe 11th grade reading level. On the SAT, you're going to see some easier passages, so that's good if you don't feel as strong a reader, but you're also going to see some more challenging passages. They vary from a 9th grade reading level to early college, so reaching a little bit beyond what you may be even doing in school. So that's something to be aware of there as well. Now, as far as comparison passages go, sometimes students really hate these. I'm not quite sure why. I think they're okay, but you have to do this added level of comparing two different passages. So if that is a concern for you, you should know that, well, both of them have them. So on the ACT, you're going to see them you're going to see one comparison passage on almost every single test anymore. It's a new thing that the ACT has started in the past couple of years, but they won't say you necessarily are going to see one, but the SAT will. The SAT guarantees that you will see at least one comparison or dual passage on every single test. And here's something that's interesting about the new SAT that you may be aware of, appears on a lot of the sections, and that are informational graphics. So what does that mean? Well, on the ACT, it's all text. You're just reading. But on the SAT, on the reading section, you're going to see an occasional chart, data table, graphic that you have to integrate into your knowledge of the passage. So you might see a question that asks you how the graph supports something that the reading passage says, or something generally about how it relates to what you're reading. So you should know that as well too. Finally, time per question. All right, so here's how the section breaks down. You have less reading questions to do on the ACT. There's 40 questions. On the new SAT, there's 52 questions, and you also have to spend less time, agonizing through that reading section. Only 35 minutes compared to 65 minutes on the SAT, so that's a pretty significant difference. So what that breaks down is to about 52, 53 seconds per question on the ACT, and 1 minute and 15 seconds per question on SAT. But remember, that's inclusive of the reading time, and on the SAT you have one more passage to read, so it works out to be about the same amount of time as far as the time you have to devote to reading and answering those questions on both tests as far as the reading section goes. That's not true on all the tests. So we're going to talk about that on the other sections and other videos coming up in Tuesday ACT, so make sure you check all of those out. And if you want to look at some practice questions for both the ACT or the new SAT, because we have that now too, you can go to magoosh.com and check it out.